Alright, it's time for another Sonic the Hedgehog review, but this time I'm not alone. I brought along my good pal Ricky.
Dano plan.
Yes, quite. And today we're gonna be taking a look at Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and Knuckles. Now the reason Ricky is joining me today is because this is a game I've wanted to review or play through with him for a long time, even before I started doing these Sonic reviews, because he probably has more memories of this game than even I do. And this is a game I played as a child. But this guy, he knows that there's a big ring over there. So...
Oh, yeah, I had to bring that up.
Yeah. So, as you know, we're talking about two games right now because they're both kind of one game. Okay?
Sonic 3 and Knuckles is the way to play.
If you don't know the story behind it, Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and Sonic and Knuckles are two completely different games, but they were meant to be one. Now, Sega, in an attempt to get Sonic the Hedgehog 3 out faster, decided to, I don't know, cut the production time in half. So instead, you get...
They just kind of stopped, like, where they were and slapped together Sonic 3.
But when you connect Sonic, and then they released Sonic and Knuckles later that same year, but when you connect the two together using a new lock-on technology that Sega created for this game specifically, you get to play Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and Knuckles, which is pretty much the game that it was supposed to be, but wasn't.
Yes.
So
they also added some cool new features like being able to play as Knuckles in Sonic 2, and even though there were problems with the color palette that prevented them from letting you play as Knuckles in Sonic 1, they still let you play a super extended version of the bonus stages if you connect Sonic 1.
Yes, the only good bonus stage, but we'll get to that in a minute. First, let's talk about Sonic 3 by itself. Sonic 3 pretty much takes everything that was good about Sonic 2 and makes it even better, okay? Because, for one, now you can actually play as Tails by himself, which you could do in Sonic the Hedgehog 2, but in this one, Tails can fly, and he can swim. And if you recall in Sonic the Hedgehog 2, even though he flew around when he was a non-playable character, when he was just following you, when you played as him, you couldn't fly. I don't know if you recall that or not.
No, I recall. He was pretty much exactly like Sonic in single-player mode.
Yeah,
but
he couldn't become Super. Go figure. But they fixed that in this one.
That's one of the best things about Sonic 3 and Knuckles by extension is that there's different playable characters that actually are different.
Yes.
Instead of just being kind of, mixing up the monotony of blue.
Tails is actually my favorite character to play as in Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and Knuckles because, like I said, he can fly to reach places that the others can't. Well, I guess Knuckles can reach most of them as well. And he can swim, which the other two just kind of sink. It also added, obviously, a bunch of new stages, Angel Island, and it introduced us to Knuckles, who would go on to become a very important character, even though you wouldn't know it by looking at today's game.
No kidding.
He starts off as a villain of sorts, but for some reason he's playable in Sonic and Knuckles. What's the reason behind him being playable in Sonic?
But they always intended Knuckles to be playable in, like, Sonic 3, and, like, in the ROM data for Sonic 3 alone, Knuckles' paths are still there. Because that's the cool thing about playing as Knuckles. I know we're not really there yet, but he goes through all the stages in different paths. He gets to destroy certain walls. But like all of those areas are still there in just Sonic 3 by itself. They planned that from the beginning, but they didn't. I don't know if they ran out of time or whatever, but they decided to save that for later, I guess.
Well, fun. Well, in Sonic the Hedgehog 3, the story goes that Dr. Robotnik is after the Chaos Emeralds and the Master Emerald, correct? Am I correct on that or no?
Well, yeah. He doesn't really get to the Master Emerald until Knuckles, but yeah.
Okay, well, he's after those things, and he tricks Knuckles, the Echidna, who is the guardian of the Master Emerald, that he tricks him that Sonic is after them. So he goes and attacks Sonic, and throughout the entire game you're harassed by Knuckles. I don't think you ever fight him.
You fight him in Sonic and Knuckles.
Yeah, in Sonic and Knuckles you fight him. But in Sonic 3, all he does is kind of get in your way and laugh at you a lot.
Yeah, he annoys you with
Kick-Ass
various
theme song.
traps and invisible walls and stuff.
He's the reason you get from one level to another.
Yeah. The very cool thing about Sonic 3 is that it starts exactly where Sonic 2 left off. At the end of Sonic 2, you're falling from the Death Egg, which you've just blown up, and you have all the Chaos Emeralds, depending on... the game assumes that you do. And right at the beginning of Sonic 3, they're landing in the tornado, which suddenly has a jet engine, so that's a little weird. But they're
they
landing
installed
in
it
the
while they were flying.
yeah, exactly. They're landing in the tornado, and Sonic he's basically returning the Chaos Emeralds to where they're supposed to be, but Knuckles thinks he's stolen them and steals them back, I guess.
Sure. And then you
Anyway.
know it's up to Sonic to get them all back again and save Angel Island from Dr. Robotnik. And along the way, you meet some really cool stages like Hydrocity or Hydro City. I don't know how you say it.
Hydro City. Come on, Megamind.
Atrocity. Hydro City Zone, which is one of the only water stages I enjoy playing.
Yes, a fun underwater level.
Go freaking figure. You also get Marble Garden Zone, which is the spiritual successor to Marble Zone.
From Sonic 1.
Yes. And a number of other
Even though
cool
it's
stages.
on the floating island, so okay.
Go figure. And you collect all the... What?
I'm sorry. This is your review.
Well, you could... I brought you here. Just go say what
No,
you
no,
wanna
no.
say.
Keep going, and then I'll just add what I want to
Well,
add
I was
when you're
going to
done.
say, and you go through all this, and you collect all the Master Emeralds, and then the game just kind of stops. Hooray.
Well, you blow up the death egg at the end.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
You didn't touch up.
It's
you
not
didn't touch on.
technically over yet.
Right. No. You didn't touch on my personal favorite innovation that Sonic 3 offers, which I know we're going to talk about the special stages in just a second. But one of the really cool things about Sonic 3 that they added from Sonic 2 was separate shields that do different things.
Oh, that's probably the best part, other than Tails actually flying.
Right. You know, in Sonic 2 you had, and Sonic 1 for that matter, you had a shield that would protect you from one attack. And that was all it was good for. And now, in Sonic 3, they have 3 different kinds of shields, all of which protect you from one attack. But all 3 of them have their own individual properties. There's the bubble shield that lets you bounce or breathe underwater. There's the fire shield that lets you dash and protects you from fire attacks. An infinite number of fire attacks. You can take as many of them as you want, because the fire shield it won't go away after one fire attack. And then there's a lightning shield, which protects you from electric attacks and has the best feature of all of the 3 shields, which is
Which one?
the lightning shield.
Oh, it attracts all the rings to you. And
Yes.
Yes.
It attracts rings to you like a magnet, which is just so fucking fun, and that's the shield you always want to have, especially if you're trying to become supersonic.
And that's also the only shield that's kind of stuck around.
Yeah, it is, because pretty much every Sonic game since then has had the lightning shield, although they don't always call it that.
Yeah, they're not always as cool. That was pretty much Sonic's way of attacking, right? The other 2 characters couldn't do all that stuff, correct?
Well, yeah, the shields all did different things. The fire you could dash, the bubble bounce, then the lightning shield you had a double jump. But Sonic also had this new thing that, like, as a kid I never found a use for. If you press the button like in a jump, he does like this 1-second shield that can actually protect you from certain bosses and explosions and stuff. Like that one Ice Cap Zone boss with the like rotating shenanigans around it. Like you're meant to hit that thing with that half-a-second shield, and I could never time it right, but it is actually very useful if you don't suck at video games. But anyway,
Ice Cap Zone, despite having the best music, was always really hard.
it's very difficult.
It's
Yeah.
a very hard stage, I think. But then, even though Sonic 3 by itself is worth, mentioning, it's got a lot of good merits, it's probably even better than Sonic 2, when you connect it to Sonic and Knuckles, it becomes the best game in the entire series, bar none.
Absolutely.
Okay. It adds, how many new zones is that? 6, I believe?
I think they both have 6. I might be wrong.
It adds
It depends what you count as a zone, because
Hidden Palace isn't much of a zone.
Hidden Palace is 1 act, and it's barely that. And then there's the
Death Egg.
final zone is Doomsday Zone is like just a boss. So it depends what you count. But yeah, the game is twice as long, which Sonic 3 by itself is shorter than Sonic 2, which is a little disappointing. But oh, here's another cool thing that Sonic 3 added was mini bosses. At the end of every single act, you fight a boss.
Come on!
Just every 3 acts or 2 acts or whatever. So the game, Sonic 3 and Knuckles as a complete game, is twice as long as it would have otherwise been. There's twice as many emeralds to collect, which sounds like a bad thing, but this game has special stages that are actually fun.
Yeah, that's the kicker right there. Okay, Sonic as I already covered, Sonic 1's special stages are ass. Sonic 2's are even more ass, and Sonic CDs are the assiest. So, it's about time they finally got to a good special stage. So good that they even made it so that you could play it by itself when you hook up Sonic 1, as Ricky had already mentioned.
Yes. I just they're really addicting, and when you screw up, you feel like, oh well, shit, I fucked that one up. You don't feel like, God damn it, Tails, why did you hit that bomb? You don't feel like, why is this time limit so fucking short? And you don't feel like, why is the stage spinning so goddamn fast? You feel like you got beaten by actual fair challenge and not jacked by poor game design.
And because of the fact that Sonic 3 and Sonic Knuckles were released separately, there's a complete separate set of emeralds that you have to collect, which they kind of had to save themselves from that one.
Well, they kind of pulled that out of their ass, but yes, if you connect both games, then you have to collect the Super Emeralds, which are just bigger emeralds. But if you get all the Super Emeralds, you can become Hyper Sonic or Hyper Knuckles. They have their own individual abilities. Or here's where this kind of sucks. Tails got kind of screwed because he doesn't get a super form until you get all 14 emeralds. Everybody else, Sonic and Knuckles, they can go super after 7 and hyper after 14, but Tails can only go super after 14. But Super Tails is the best of all three of them because he doesn't have to do jack shit. He could just stand there and his birds will destroy all the bosses for you. Which is quite fun. Well, there's one boss in Death Egg Zone that you have to get to hit itself, and it's a big clusterfuck. But anyway,
naturally, none of these forms ever return to it.
Right.
Which is kind of disappointing. But another thing.
But they were a very cool goal to strive for, and the fact that they were a worthy reward because they were so powerful. You know, Super Tails could attack everything without you having to push a button, and Hyper Sonic and Hyper Knuckles, they both had attacks that would kill all the enemies on screen, which is really hardcore. And I think, I might be wrong about this, but I think both Hyper forms could breathe underwater, which even if you were Super Sonic, you could still drown.
Right. I don't
So that was
I don't
pretty
recall
awesome.
that, but probably since they're like the Super Ultra Mega form. They're the Hyper
Right, I've played this game probably 100 times. It's kind of sad.
I've watched it.
But anyway.
One of the things that I didn't like about Sonic and Knuckles is some of the music is different from Sonic 3.
Yes. I'm not quite sure how it works exactly, but when you connect both games, the theme songs that are different between the two games, which are like the mini-boss theme,
which is better in Sonic 3 by itself.
Knuckles' theme, also better in Sonic 3 by itself, and a couple others. The ones that differ between the two games, if you connect them, they all default to the Sonic and Knuckles themes, and in some cases that's kind of annoying. There are ROM hacks out there that correct that, like by, you know, they'll use the Sonic 3 mini boss theme, but it'll still be the whole game, like Sonic 3 and Knuckles together, and those are pretty interesting to check out. But the one song that's better, like in Sonic and Knuckles, that I'm glad they changed to was the Super Sonic theme, because in Sonic 3 by itself, when you're Super Sonic, you get a 5-second loop that, if you have like 800 rings, you're just gonna want to shoot yourself by the time you finish the stage.
I don't think you
So
can
that
get
is
800 rings, Ricky.
no, that's impossible. I just threw that out there. But anyway, that is one of the better things. One of the better songs.
This game also had Mega Sonic in it. Mega Sonic's
Yes,
and,
Mega Sonic is very cool.
Egg Robo, who is Knuckles' boss for some reason. Like, he doesn't fight Robotnik, he fights Egg Robo instead.
Except in that one stage
Well, yeah, that one stage.
where they screwed up. The ultimately, Sonic 3 and Knuckles, it's just, for me, it's the definitive article because there's so many stages, and I get so attached to these stages. There's so much fun to explore, and there's no, like, well, Sandopolis Act 2 comes close.
Okay,
But I was gonna say there's
Sandopolis is one of my least favorite zones in any Sonic game. No.
I have no problem with the first act. The second act is terrible. But what I was about to say was for the most part, there's really no labyrinth zone where you just, like, it's a chore. Most of the stages, barring Sandopolis Act 2, are really fun to explore. They're fun to search for big rings, and when you find a big ring, you know, you get the reward of playing the fun special stages. The whole game is built around this system of rewarding you for playing it.
For pushing spikes out of the way.
Yeah, oh my god. 15 years, I never knew about that. But anyway.
It's a very rewarding experience, one that, like I said, like we've already said, it's the best of the three main ones for the Genesis. I have a lot of memories with Sonic 2. It holds a special place in my heart, but as I've grown up, I've learned to accept that Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and Knuckles is definitely the best one, despite how unbelievably hard it was for me as a child to find Sonic and Knuckles anywhere. Apparently this game was rare or something when I was younger, because I had to find it at a freaking flea market. But whatever. It's a fantastic game. If you haven't played it yet, do yourself a favor and play it. I know that on the Virtual Console you can download both games, and you can still do the lock-on thing. They're not available on PlayStation Network or Xbox 360 yet. Or you could just download them, but don't tell them anybody we said that.
If you have Mega Collection for the GameCube or the PS2, it probably was on the Xbox at some point. You can also, well, if I know you can lock them on that way, and trust me, you want to play the games locked on. You want to play Sonic 3 and Knuckles. That's the definitive article, if you ask me.
You can also play Sonic the Hedgehog 2 as Knuckles, which is pretty cool.
Yes. That's also very fun, yeah. And those levels weren't even necessarily intended to be explored by Knuckles, but there's some cool places that you can reach.
Well, I remember there's one part in particular that I would always go up and, like, I always forget that there's nothing up there, but there's like a part in Chemical Plant Zone where that just goes up and up and up, and then all you do is hit a ceiling. Like, there's nothing there, and I do it every fucking time.
I know the exact part you're talking about. Because it's funny, because when you said that, I was waiting for you to say Chemical Plant Zone. You know, I did the same thing.
You can also get out of the bottomless pit as Knuckles.
Yes, that's one of the perks of playing Sonic 2 as Knuckles. But yes.
But anyway, anything else you would like to add?
I think that the final boss in Sonic 3 and Knuckles, which you only get if you link them up, is the most satisfying of the Genesis era, like final bosses, because it's foreshadowed a little bit, and it's just really, it gives you this really satisfying feeling to like fly through space as Supersonic. That also started the trend of Supersonic space bosses. You know, there's one in Sonic Advance, there's one in... Actually, all three Sonic Advance games have a Supersonic in space final boss.
Sonic Adventure 2.
Sonic Adventure 2, yeah. So, but the first, and the original and the best, is Sonic 3 and Knuckles final boss. And I didn't want to end this review without mentioning that.
Well, I'm glad you did. So, yeah, that's it. Be sure to check out Sonic 3 and Knuckles if you haven't, and if you have, play it again, because it's a fantastic game, and you deserve to give yourself that treat for Sonic's 20th birthday.
It truly is. I'm constantly discovering new things every time I play it.
And we hope to do a Let's Play of it one day. Don't say, don't ask us next time we post a Let's Play, where's your Sonic 3 Let's Play, because I didn't say we were doing it today. But one day we're gonna get to it.
Eventually.
So, that's about it. Thank you for joining me, Ricky.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Treat. I am going to be looking at... what game came out next? Sonic 3D Blast, I think?
Can I be there for that one, too? To defend it?
No!
Damn.
Well, if you want to be, I guess.
No, I don't care.
But anyway, catch you cats on the flip side.
Peace.